Good afternoon, everyone. So, as Dr. Basu said that we are going to learn today the tutorial. This will be mainly not about the presentation. It will be discussing or practically showing how to do the data analysis. So, as a small angle neutron scattering, similar to many other scattering techniques, this also provide information in momentum space. And what we really want information in real space. So data analysis is many times is not straightforward in case of science, and then it requires little bit of expertise, little bit of playing with the data to get the required information. To begin with, what I will be showing are very few informations which I believe you already have. Just to recall those terminologies so that this tutorial or understanding of the data analysis can be straightforward. So first thing is in small angle neutron scattering, we measure scattering intensity of scattered neutrons as a function of a scattering vector. Scattering vector, and then we have theoretically expressed this scattering intensity like this, and where n is the number density of the scatterers in the volume, v is the volume, rho p minus rho m square. It's a very important factor. I will come to this. I will see how to calculate this factor and how to utilize this factor. And then the two Q-dependent parameters, you must be aware of intraparticle structure factor, which provides information about shape and size, and SQ, which provides the information about the interaction between the particles. This is interparticle structure factor. These are the typical plots, just for a recall, because whenever we will take the data will look like something. This is a PQ, typical SQ, and this is the differential scattering. Now, three popular ways of doing data analysis are Dr. Aswal must have mentioned. One is linear analysis. This is one of the oldest and most popular way. The advantage is that one can obtain radius of gyration from this sort of analysis without having actual, I mean, this is advantage also because we need not to know, we don't need any prior information about the samples, scatterers, geometry, etc. So we get the RG. The disadvantage is this, that we do not get shape and size parameters as such. We only get an RG. The second is model independent data analysis. So as the name suggests, this is independent from any model. So we start, as I said, that this is scattering intensity as a function of Q by scattering vector in momentum space. So if we really take the inverse Fourier transformation, we will get the information in the real space. So this methodology is employed in more so-called model independent data analysis, where what has to be done, some way to take the inverse Fourier transformation of the scattered data and get the information about the real space parameters. So I will touch upon this also. The third and most popular way of doing science data analysis is the model dependent data analysis. There are certain mathematical limitations with model independent data analysis because, for example, when you do Fourier transformations, you need a range of data from minus to infinity. But actual data is limited, as you can see here. This is in limits of Q. So this sort of inverse Fourier transformations gives a lot of artifacts. I will also discuss about this. Then this, all those limitations are now overcome in this model dependent data analysis, where we assume a model, we produce a theoretical scattering curve like here, theory, and then we try to match this theoretical scattering intensity with the experimentally measured scattering intensity. And how we do this? This will be the course of So two popular softwares to do all these three data analysis are methodologies are, one is known as SASFit, very popular. This is the link for downloading the SASFit. This is a free software. And other is SASView. SASView is also free. One can download and can easily use them. Depending upon the choices, I mean, both the softwares are quite good, containing lot of models in it and easy to handle. One can choose based on their own choices. So to start with model independent sans analysis, as I said that model independent sans analysis, we have I of q scattering intensity as a function of scattering vector, and we take inverse Fourier transformation and get the information, or this is related to the Fourier transformation of the pair distance distribution functions. Pair distance distribution functions. If we take inverse Fourier transformation, we will be getting P of R. So these are the typical profiles. This must be discussed by Dr. Aswal also. For example, in case of a sphere, the data looks like this, but when we take P of R, it is like this. So we are getting a mean radius, and then this is the distribution. When there is asymmetry in the system, in the particles, let's say there is rod like, so P of R should look like this, and scattering curve is like this green one. When the yellow is like a disk, another asymmetric particle, then this is like this. And if there are two length scales present, then we will get two peaks in P of R. So I will try to show how to get this P of R, but most of the time we use P of R with the limitations. So I will discuss upon those limitations when we'll be discussing about P of R. And in case of model dependent sans analysis, so one has to select a model. As I said, select a model, collect a data, then produce theoretical scattering curve, try to match this theoretical scattering curve with the experimental curve, and see if they two matches. If they two matches, so far so good. This is a possible model, and we complement all the information with or complement all this with all the information which we have in prior, and this may be final model. If not, then we go back and change the model and do everything again. While optimizing the parameters of the method model, one has to do reduced chi-square fitting. So get the least reduced chi-square for the best parameters. Again, this is a recall. You can see P of Q is giving shape independent parameters. So profile is becoming more narrower as the particle radius is increasing. And this is sphere rod disk. For all three, there is a difference in the data. Sphere, it is like this. For rod, this is a q to the power minus 1 slope, and for disk, this is q to the power minus 2 slope. Similarly, SFQ, one can see model this SFQ to get different interactional parameters, like in case of a screened Coulomb potential, the charge, or different potentials depending upon the system. Say screened Coulomb potential will look like this, hard sphere repulsion will look like this, and attractive square well will look like this. We will see what kind of information from these curves can be obtained. So we need certain informations. When we start data analysis, the experimentalist must know there are following things. One, the typical features of the system. We need these features to do the data analysis, as we will see in the course of time. What sort of expected scattering profile may be? This will depend upon the typical features of the system. as you see that if they are simple nanoparticles, spherical nanoparticles, then we will see simple sphere sort of form factor or the intra-particle structure. The other is information about the system is like density, molecular formula, molecular weight. This all will be required to calculate the scattering length density and which will further be used in the calculations of theoretical intensity. Then a specific object of the experiment, basically what we want to determine from this data. Is it the shape and size, or we already know the shape and size? We want to determine the interactional parameters. We want to determine the transitions, stability, etc. Then required whether this is another very important parameter. It is the required Q range. Suppose we have a long rod and our Q range is not sufficient to provide the information of the length of the rod. Then there is no point of fitting the length of the rod. This will be another example I will take upon. So we must know what length scale can be covered in the given Q range. The signal should be good. If there is lot of noise, it will be very difficult to get to do either the model. It's rather, in fact, very difficult to do model independent data analysis, because that time taking inverse Fourier transformations are very difficult. There will be lot of artifacts. But even in the case of model dependent data analysis, the scattering signal should be appropriate to obtain different parameter contributions. And we have to ensure that the signal is coming from the sample. There is no multiple scattering. So choice of concentration is another crucial parameter. Okay, so what I said, just back here. So now I will start collecting the informations, number density, volume. Of course, I will not be knowing because that will depend upon the radius or geometrical parameters. So that has to be determined. But the other constant or scale factor in this intensity equation is this contrast term. This is rho p, the scattering length density of the particle and the scattering length density of the matrix whole square. So this term, these calculations we will be doing for this term. This we need when before we start data analysis. So solvent is most of the time is D2O, and I believe that it has been already explained that for D2O in coherent scattering background is quite low. And this provides very nice contrast for the hydrogenous materials. So most of the time it is D2O, but of course sometimes it may be H2O also. So how to do solvent scattering length density calculation? The formula is simple. One has to have this B, sum of scattering length densities of H multiplied by 2 plus O, and volume of this monomer. So scattering length of H2O, how to calculate? This is 2 more atoms of hydrogen plus 1 atom of oxygen. These are the values very much available in the literature, and one can get this scattering length density. Then volume of H2O, one can do this simple, very simple calculations to get this formula. This is molecular weight divided by density and Avogadro number. So molecular weight of H2O is 18, and then density 1, Avogadro number 1. We get this. Simple division will lead to this scattering length density, and for heavy water, it will be like this. For silica, as an example, we are choosing silica nanoparticles or silica particles. It doesn't matter because anyway this is only molecule. So this is silica scattering length 2 multiplied by scattering length of oxygen. And this is scattering length of the silica. And then this is the volume. And we get silica scattering length density. How to calculate the contrast is simple. So contrast is rho silica minus rho H2O whole square and rho silica minus rho D2, whatever the solvent is. So this is the scattering contrast in two cases. With this information, let's start to do data analysis for the one simplest system, which is silica nanoparticles. And this slide will elaborate the methodology, and then we will practically do it. So when we measure silica nanoparticle, we will get this kind of scattering profile. What information we already has? These are the nanoparticle system. So obviously we expect these may be spherical particles. The concentration we know. These are 1 weight% silica nanoparticles. Are they charged? Yes. But is the system dilute? This is another very important parameter. So just recall PQ and SQ. PQ is intraparticle structure factor and SQ is interparticles. So in case of dilute system, SQ is 1. In case of dilute system, SQ1 is 1. So we know this system is dilute. Density, we how much it may be. Here I have written x gram per cc because it may be anything for any other sample. Molecular formula we know, this is SiO2, scattering length density we have previously calculated. This information we do have already. Now there are certain observations from the data. One is there is no correlation peak. This tells us that SQ will be 1. This is one of the signature of dilute systems. When interacting or repulsion, whenever there is a repulsion in the system, even then there is no correlation peak, system is usually treated as dilute. No much form factor or intra-PQ oscillations here, which usually appears here. They are absent, so this tells that the system is polydispersed. Now, how to do it? So we have decided that these are the spherical particles. We have chosen PQ for sphere. SQ is 1. Already calculated the scattering length density or contrast factor. N and V square will be accommodated in PQ. And since this is a polydispersed system, we will put both of these two terms here, scattering length density as previously calculated, and this IQ will then be convoluted with this size distribution function. So put all these equations together in this integration and do the integration to produce the theoretical curve. For the value of R, then this theoretical curve exactly matches to the experimental curve with minimum reduced chi using linear least square, non-linear least square methods. Those values of R and sigma will be our final parameter. So it may sound quite complicated, but you can see, so this is fitted. And what I know already that the radius came out to be around 80 angstrom, 8 nanometer with a sigma of around 0.1. Nanoparticles are now in the polydispersed sphere. So all these complications are done with the help of softwares. You need not to do manually. This has to be done with the help of softwares, and softwares are easy to handle. So I will start with one software which is Suspect. So I don't know if it's no need to install these softwares. This comes out to be as a package. You need to just double click on the exe file. This window will automatically appear. Now you go to file, choose single data set, browse. So we will choose where our data is. Science tutorial. And I am choosing one set of nanoparticle system. Okay. This file will appear. I will just apply. We'll talk about this window also, but beforehand, let's see how to do data analysis. So this is the graph which you can see here also. Yeah. Now going to calculate single data set and fit. So another window will appear. Now you see that this is the sphere here written. These are the form factors. So many form factors are available. One can choose. Form factor means we usually call form factor intraparticle structure factor, because intraparticle structure factor is the square of form factor only. So different shape and sizes, for example, spheres, multilamellar, vesicle, cylindrical, and isotropic. And from plugins also one can ellipsoidal, cylindrical, cluster. Several shapes are available here. Very large in number. Software is very efficient in because it provides many number of modeling tools. You can choose whatever shape you want to choose or think that the data may be or the system may be. So we will choose simply sphere because we know these are the nanoparticles, and to begin with it's not a bad assumption to choose them to be spherical. Also, as we have seen that the scattering profile depends upon the shape, and here we see typical signatures of spherical particles, form factor around the scattering. Now this log normal, you can see this is different size distribution functions. Monodisperse I can choose to begin with, and I'm just employing that radius is 10 angstrom. Just keep in mind that whenever you will have a cursor on any of the parameter, here uh, the description of the parameter will appear. For example, if you put here cursor, you see radius. Here this is scattering contrast. So now only two parameters, one is radius, other is the contrast. To start, I will use this contrast as a scaling parameter. I will simply put it and first apply. If you click here, this parameter will start fitting. So I will run. Right. So what I see that 10 angstrom particle is having a quite a large width and very small intensity. But here our width is much narrower. Narrow width means particle actually is of larger size. So what I will do, I will just put 50. Apply. Interestingly, there are some oscillations appearing. These oscillations are in PQ oscillations and appearing because we have not taken any polydispersity in the system. So that is fine. We will now run. It's still the same situation. Theoretical curve is wider. So let's say 80. Something like this. Now here some background is there, so we will add some background. Keep the cursor at the highest possible Q point and read the data. So keep the cursor here, read the data from here. Y value is 0.029. Add background. Rest all are Q dependent terms, so we will not choose any Q dependent term as background. So I just C0 is Q independent background. More or less. Now go to previous one. This is previous, this is next, previous, next, next is background, previous is this one. Let's take, since there are oscillations, so let's take some size distribution, which say suppose is log, which is very popular. S is that sigma. So all set. I have fitted these two parameters also. So finally radius is coming out to be around 7.6 nanometers. And 0.21 is the sigma in log normals distribution. If you want, you can see size distribution here. It is written size distribution. So this is the size distribution. Keep in mind that mu, this mu will be that parameter where you will apply the distribution. So if I here the distribution is clicked, so R is same as mu. Usually in log normal, this value is a median value. So this is median radius. Don't forget to convert it into mean radius if you want to report mean radius, or choose some other size distribution parameter. So this is the way to do to use this software. Now just go here at file. One can save project, whatever. Say ab dot project will be saved, or export the data, export IQ. So export IQ. So IQ will be exported. Right. So both the files will be in the computer. Wherever you can now plot them in the origin. This seems much simpler, but it's not always the case, because always we are not modeling simple nanoparticles. Even then, suppose these are the system for the different size silicon nanoparticles. You can see, as I said, these are the three sizes. The green one is most broad and the least in scattering intensity. Then blue one in between, and highest is the brown. So what we see that the profile width is, these are the name for TM, it is minimum, then HS, then SM, and intensity is other way. So what we can understand is this, that TM is the largest among these. This is our observation and consistent with the data. And SM is the smallest one. At the same time, there is oscillation here for in the case of TM, but no oscillation for the other two. So TM is most monodisperse. Now you see, when we utilized these softwares, we get this mean radius, we get this polydispersity. For TM40, the polydispersity is minimum, size is largest. SM30, this is smallest, and this is largest. The methodology of doing the data analysis is same. Now let's see for some different shapes. So this is the system of mixed micelles, mixed anionic SDS and cationic DTAP surfactant in different ratios. So as the X will increase, DTAP concentration will increase. So for x is equal to 0, it is only as ds. We see prolate ellipsoidal sort of, and then keep on increasing detail, which is rod-like, then bilayer vesicle, multilamellar vesicle, then again bilayer, again rod-like, and again prolate ellipsoidal. So it is like this. Here it is prolate ellipsoidal. This is rod. It is giving a q to the power -1 slope. Here you can see. And then this is q to the power -2 slope, which is the indication of the bilayer formation. And then q to the power -4 slope, which is the indication of multilamellar formation. However, we do not see any peak here. Why we can discuss that. And then other way around here also, that this is -2, -1, then not. And finally, prolate ellipsoid. Let's do one data analysis for this sort of system. So what I was saying is, you just need to double click on the exe of the SAS file, and this window will appear. Yeah, single data set as we did. Let's, sorry, what I, so this I have already done. I am just loading those SAS files. This is the fit. This is for bilayer vesicle, unilamellar vesicle. Let me show you another one. Do not bother too much about these error bars, because in the final data file it will appear normal. Sometimes because of the differences in the versions, compatibility with the software, they may look unobvious, but yeah. So what this is a rod-like. So what I will choose is a cylindrical object. One can start with, let's say choose cylinder, and monodisperse sort of. So cylinder, some length 500 angstrom, and radius some, let's say 30 angstrom. Scattering length density is 1. Yeah. Again, we will fix this background. Background is 0.11. Like something like this. Yeah. To me, this red curve, which is theoretical one, is quite narrower. So maybe this rod is even smaller. Yes, so it's fitting. Now this part is majorly governed by the radius. So something like this. One has to even further fit it. I will simply show the fitted one. This is the, and this is with size distribution. Whenever you apply size distribution, the fit becomes a little bit slow. Program is has to do this integration of the size distribution, so it becomes a little bit slow. Maybe one can try. This. Uh, so while analyzing all this sort of data, which kind of information you can get is like this for relative sidal. Semi-major and semi-minor axis, axial anisotropy. Then for rod-like, one can have length and radius. Length you can get only when this length contributes in the Q range of the measured data. Bilayer vesicle, so one can have thickness, multilamellar, repeat distance, bilayer vesicle again, thickness, and so on. So all those structural parameters one can obtain. Now I will just quickly discussing with the concentrated system. So in case of concentrated systems, we see this correlation peak. And the concentrated means they are interacting with repulsive interactions. So we usually see this sort of peak, a correlation peak, which appear at q to the power 2 equal to 2 pi by d. So this appear at 2 pi by d. D is the interparticle distance. And this is a non-ionic surfactant, so typical PQ command scattering here in this case. Now these micelles are fitted with this ellipsoidal shape and structure factor taken care by screened cooler. What are the information one gets is the semi-major axis, minor axis, charge on aggregation number. This you can calculate, and the polydispersity. So let's have a quick look on this data also. Yes. So ellipsoidal shape, it is in plugins, ellipsoidal object, and I will choose ellipsoidal shell. To start with, I will not choose any. So polar axis, roughly let's say 15, equatorial axis, roughly say 22. Shell thickness is 0, only core and shell and solvent. You can put actual values also, or it can be used as a scaling parameter if this is a uniform scattering length density distribution. Apply. I will simply run it. Again, we will choose background 0.02. Don't forget to remove all other numbers. see. Now here there is a peak, but our theoretical red curve is same. So we will introduce the structure factor. Here. The structure factor, we will choose 8 fold, which is for screened Coulomb. RHMS is usually equivalent radius, so I will take around 20. Charge I will also take around 20. This is 1%. I already know this is volume fraction, so it's 1%. It's 0.01. Temperature measured at 30 degrees Celsius. No added salt, and epsilon r is the dielectric constant, so I will take 80. So you see this is going down in this case, but our experimental data is much up. So that means charge is less than what you see. Whenever you reduce the charge, the theoretical curve is going up. And maybe now I can fit some of the numbers. But just keep in mind that every number cannot be fitted from the beginning itself. One has to have a clever choice of the initial parameters, because that is very important. Otherwise, the software will not understand anything. And so this is some sort of fitting. We get around 22, around 15 if you include size distribution, which should be in case of micelles. So then you will get polydispersity also. I am not including because this will slow down the process. So by this, what we get is semi-major axis, semi-minor axis, structural parameter, fractional charge. I have calculated total charge. If you divide it by aggregation number, one will get the fractional charge. These are the just calculations of equivalent radius, and we get the polydispersity also. Now, this is little bit complex, which is a protein surfactant complex. So there are two systems already present. One is protein, other is surfactant. I have shown you how to do the data analysis of the surfactant. You can see slight correlation peak here also, because these are charged micelle in presence of some salt. So there a little bit of a screening, but still they are interacting. So the system is not dilute, as you cannot be taken as one. This is protein 1 weight percent, which is dilute system, and these are natural molecules, so mostly monodisperse. What I will be showing is the fitting of this complex, which is formed by these micelles and the protein. Protein chain is unfolded now. So this unfolded chain will not contribute to the scattering anymore, because this will be merged in the solvent. What we will get is scattering from these arranged micelles, right? This is the data. We also have calculated P of R for this system. I will show one of the P of R, but you can see in case of mixed system, there are two peaks in the P of R, the blue and green curves. Why two peaks? One is corresponding to the size of the micelle, other is the micelle distance. So let's have a quick look on this P of R and then this data analysis also. So this is SASView, another software which I will be describing, and both the softwares are both equally easy. So one can choose any, both are free. One can download. Okay, maybe I ready this. Just go to load data. Let's say same nanoparticle I have chosen. So now send to PR inversion. This is pair distance distribution function. Send. You get two curves. One is actual data with equivalent fitting of the P of R, and this is P of R. So both of them are not very nice. We will estimate the background. Just click on this estimate background and compute. So you will see that the background is estimated. In SASFIT, we were putting the value for the background, but in SASFIT, it automatically does it. But the way is same. The scattering at the largest Q value, it is estimates as a background. They already has estimated the Q range. Now what we need to do is to give three parameters. Most important is the maximum distance. This one. This is the distance usually corresponding to the diameter. But since the system is polydispersed, so you will see it is larger than the mean of the diameter. So let's say I start with putting here 200. And when you will put here 200, they will suggest some values for the terms for the series expansion and regularization constant. Choose them and compute. So you see, this is almost fitted. And this is quite a smooth. However, still some background here. So I will little bit play with it. Let's say 210 and choose these values. And there is some mistake. Okay. So something like this. So it's showing that no particle is more than 210. So maybe 200 was better. So this is the P of R with an RG of around 75. If you will calculate mean radius, it will be roughly equal. So what we get. So this software is also, let's say if I send it to fitting, it will go to fitting. Which category? So we will start with monodisperse only. 20 angstrom is rough guess of mine. Hit it. Don't bother about these error bars. This is just because of the version of which version we are using and compatibility with the PC. We will fix this error bar. Fractal, mass fractal, the structure fractal. Yes, sir. Right. So, yes, what we did is we fixed this sphere as a form factor. Now we incorporate the structure factor of the mass fractal. There are three parameters. And as I explained that whenever you will keep the cursor here, it will also explain what parameter is this. This is the micellar radius. Keep in mind that model. This is the overall size of the fractal and this is the fractal dimension. So whenever you will apply, keep on fitting the scale. So keep on fitting the scale, it will fit. Now you experimental data is down, that means some of the dimensions are larger. So you see, this is overall fractal dimension. When I reduced, then it's almost coming. And then now, so the key is always keep in mind that you should approximately fit it. Then only you apply the all parameters fitting. Otherwise, it will be a mess. It will not work. It may hang, and I will one by one. I am fitting all the parameters. Seems very smaller. So this is the fit, more or less. Data, choose the form factor, which is any shape. So here the micelles, we expect them to be spherical. I choose spherical. In the next step, I will add the background. So from this curve button, add the background. Otherwise, go to next. I will add background. This is the first one. The C0 is Q independent background. I will put this background here, fix both of them. Then go back to original and incorporate the structure factor, whatever structure factor you feel so. So what I discussed are the two examples. One is the charged micelles, which are taken care by this Hater-Penfold model for the screened Coulomb potential, and other is the protein surfactant complexes taken care by this fractal object. So these are the two examples. Just going to next. Okay, so this is the another this example I want to show to tell you that there can be two populations also. So one can see that data in actuals may be much more complex. So we begin with the simple nanoparticles. Now this is a system where there are two populations. There exist bilayers as well as rods together. And how we infer is like this, that we can infer this from our data also. You see, in this inset, there are two slopes. One is slope is q to the power minus 1, other is q to the power minus 2. And minus 1 corresponds to the rod, minus 2 corresponds to the bilayer. I will give you one simple example, show you one simple example to analyze the data which are containing more than one population. So going to the same file, browsing the new one, and if I browse the new one, this is a simpler version, nanoparticle plus micelles. Just okay, apply. So this is new one, data set, and one has to remove all this sort of also. Now one can see this is one population here up to this point and one population here up to this point. These are the two particles. One is here, other is here. I will simply do this data analysis to show you how to add scattering contribution from two systems. They are same nanoparticles. I know they are 80 angstroms nearly, so I just 80 angstrom. This portion is completely left, so I will add another spherical micelle which is much smaller. Let's say 20 angstrom. Keep it here 1. remove the scattering fitting from all other tabs. Do not fit many parameters together. If you do it, then it will, the software will immediately collapse. You can see this is almost fitted here. Radius seems much smaller. Fitted them slightly already. Otherwise, this can be a complete fix. Here in the low Q, then edit the background. Always we do at the background, and then the small sphere in the third. We keep on fitting one parameter each by, and in the end all the parameters. So this is more or less fitted data. This is the example to I have shown you how to calculate the scattering length density, but when you know the scattering length density of a molecule, then what you need to do, just put G2O, H2O in combination and get by this equation. Silica is contrast matched here, so what we see only the surfactant in the silica surfactant system. Maybe I will stop here, will not go any more examples, we'll take questions. So what I have shown that you can get it from the literature. You just write neutron scattering length depth. Chart of the scattering length lengths of different elements. Choose the suitable isotopes and you will get it. So the question is, how do we know? Do the value of R polar and R equilateral are already known? So not always, but in case of, for example, micelles. So what I have said, you have to make a clever guess of the initial values. So in case of, let's say, for example, SDS surfactant, I know the tail length is tail of hydrophobic chain is carbon 12. I just use tenfold formula to calculate its R polar may be around 16 angstrom. So you can have pre-hand knowledge of approximate values. You need not to know values of R polar and R equilateral, then put those values and get the exact values by fit. So eta is contrast factor. The question is any reason to vary the value of eta. So eta, what is eta is? Eta is a contrast factor. The eta, we cannot vary eta if your scattering length density is not uniform. For example, if you are having a core shell kind of particles, then eta has to be fixed. And then another scale parameter n has to be fitted. Let's see, just see this equation once here. So if you see this rho p minus rho whole square is Q independent term. If this is fixed for a particular given system, then you can vary this as a scale factor. So I was varying this as a scale factor. But if this is not fixed, this rho p is varying in your particle, let's say core shell particle is there, then you have to provide the value of core, you have to provide the value of shell, you have to provide the value of the solvent. Then there is another scale factor which is n, that can be varied. This is another complex system where this is the silicon. This I am showing just to show you the power of small angle scattering from the very basic to very elaborated systems. In this system, there is a silicon nanoparticle, and these are the micelles sitting on the surface of it. And such a complex system is easily simplified by this contrast variation. So if you imagine this sort of system here, so there will be many scattering terms. One is from this particle modeling. I wrote a small program myself. So that option is also available. If you Prof shape based on least square fitting methods. This example I just want to show you the attraction, the evolution of that. So, to conclude, what I tried to show that there are model independent and model dependent data analysis. Majorly, this presentation was about model dependent data analysis because model independent data analysis has lots of limitations. Then I would say try to analyze the data, that always have maximum possible information beforehand, either from the literature or at least the density, molecular formula. So all small information should be there, so that your parameters are most reliable in case of model dependent analysis. Keep in mind that model dependent analysis, you assume the model, so there may be a that may not be unique one. So to techniques of the results, understanding of the system, as well as of the from literature. Thank you.